Hi, Nalanie.
Namaste, Amber.
One of the things that has brought some attention to my law practice is the decision to use the yin-yang as the symbol of justice as my logo. And one of the reasons for me was that, again, like most law firms will use the scale of justice as, this up and down, this win-lose adversarial symbol. And I thought to myself, to me, justice means finding that inner peace and integrating the parts within us that have somehow disconnected or who are out of balance, out of harmony, and trying to find ways of bringing those parts back together again in alignment and in unity. And so for me, the yin-yang was a fantastic representation of exactly that, of finding balance, finding harmony, and bringing, as I say, uniting again those disconnected parts. And one of the ways in which I've learned through you, again, how to do that was to practice what you call the yamas and the niyamas.
That's right.
To go back to basics. Let's go back to basics. Let's go back to looking at basic values such as practicing truth and non-violence and non-stealing and so on. And so I'd love for you to please share like how you see and how you envision law students and lawyers taking on these values, learning more about these values to find a way of integrating these values into their law practices.
I don't only think for law students, Amber, I think for everyone. And in fact, this is why I am now really giving all this information freely, because in order to live a beautiful life, any kind of good life, there needs to be some values. I mean, you see it on TV and we see it on Netflix, good overcomes evil, and when we fight for the truth, but how many people actually live like that? How many people let greed, anger, fear, guilt, worry take over and not live these great truths of non-violence, of peacefulness, integrity, honor? Where are all those beautiful words gone today? And where have they gone? Because it's not taught in schools anymore.
Right.
It's everybody's taught to go for what you want, go for the money, go for the big bucks, go for the material things that'll make you happy. But has it made our world happier?
No, it hasn't, and we have the statistics to show it. And that's,
absolutely.
That's incontrovertible now, incontrovertible. So when we speak of finding that balance, what kind of exercises would you encourage law students and lawyers to practice, to be able to come back into that integrity?
The two most important things to me are, as Gandhi also said, he actually said three things. His motion, his way of being was called satyagraha, which is truth without greed.
Wow.
For me, when I teach and many of the students who come to help out, I'd say, okay, two things required, ahimsa and satya. Ahimsa is non-violence,
yes,
and satya is truthfulness. So when people live by these values, something happens in them. The yin and yang you talked about?
Yes.
That feeling of being whole. It's just the way we're wired up, Amber. We're born to love, we're born to care, we're born to... Even Einstein, when he learned to split the atom, what did he say? In the end, he said love was the most important tool, and it was important that we saw each other as brothers and sisters. All the great philosophers, by living these truths, I mean, look at Gandhi, by living satyagraha, he managed, without a war, for England to leave India.
And Gandhi was a lawyer.
And he was a lawyer.
And he was a
lawyer.
Yeah.
And he was a lawyer. Unfortunately, he was assassinated too soon.
Yes.
So India then went back into its old ways with Pakistan, then you had another war, as human beings constantly revert back to the same raw animalistic feelings.
To duality, to this,
yeah.
Yes, instead of seeing things from a higher perspective of we're all one, we live on one planet, there's nowhere else we can go, well, so far.
We all know this, by the way.
Yes, and we all know this, and so even Martin Luther King said the same, didn't he? He preached about morality, about love, the importance of love. And sometimes I say, I actually love my clients, and people might look at me and they say, oh my God, she has really lost the plot now. But I do, because it's the love that comes, I think, from a knowledge, an inner knowledge and wisdom that we're all, as you say, brothers and sisters, we're all connected, we're all one. So thank you.
You see, it is very easy to say it. I teach a lot of yoga students and all kinds of students all over the world, and I've found that it's very easy to say it. The important thing is to live it.
Practice it.
It's very difficult for human beings, because when you go out in the world, there's so much rejection, there's so much pain, and you look at the world, there's so little justice, right? So people get disillusioned. Why should I live this way? But really, if we start to live this way, we attract like-minded people to our lives. And the more of us that live this way, the more like-minded people there will be. So the practice starts with the individual. This is why bringing it to all walks of life, business, law school, schools, all kinds of venues and places will create a better world. I mean, this is a world of duality. There will always be good and bad. But maybe there'll be more peace, especially for those who really want to make a difference. And I think humanity is at its infancy. I mean, we still haven't reached where we should be. You know, with all the education we have, there's still wars, there's still greed.
There's still millions of cases going to court every year. It's madness. And and Sylvia Clute, the founder of Unitive Justice, she describes it as insanity, as madness.
It's insanity.
And Eckhart Tolle also spoke about how now humanity is at a stage where we need to wake up from the insanity. And as I've described so many times over, that going into these adversarial systems just of themselves are set up for separation. And so for us to find that union, we need to start, I think, as Socrates said, building the new. And in building the new, I think that people will also hopefully awaken to the fact that that justice that they're seeking outside is actually something they can achieve by working on themselves on the inside.
This is exactly the practice. You asked, what can one do, or, what should we do, what should we practice? Practice going within. The kingdom of heaven is within. In our Hindu scriptures, the Upanishads, it says, deep in the hearts of all lives the light of all lights. And again, the Lord of love, no larger than a thumb, lives in the hearts of all. Look at the word, the Lord of love. So when we work towards love, of course life is full of pain. Viktor Frankl said, what gives light endures burning. But it doesn't mean when you burn, you have to burn somebody else.
Right.
It just means when you burn, you realize you grow in compassion and love. And those are the people we admire. And that's how you practice. Think of the people you love and respect.
Yes.
And then be the copycat. What did they do to get there?
Yeah.
I want to live like this. And then you watch yourself, contemplation. Looking at yourself rather than blaming the world outside. Contemplation, meditation. Oh my God, my thoughts. What am I thinking? I'm thinking anger thoughts. I'm thinking revenge. I'm thinking, let's take everything out of that person, As I think I become. That
Absolutely.
is the yoga science, right?
Yeah.
So we need to change ourselves first before we can change the world. So this is why it's really important to give people this education on how to heal themselves, how to change those negative thoughts and make them positive thoughts.
And again, I found that as soon as they're in that space, something magical happens. Sometimes even the other side decides to drop the case. Sometimes,
so many
oh my goodness, it's like, oh my goodness, or something that we've been offering that was on the table for settlement months ago, suddenly they're like, okay, we'll move forward with this. So I do believe that in of itself as well is so magical, and that is also evidence of how we are all connected, because as we start changing our own energy fields, I believe so wholeheartedly that somehow reaches across the ether to the other side, and then they start. I know the conflict just starts dissolving.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I've seen this 1,000 times, and that's why I say, I always say I live a magical life.
Magical life.
Yes, and all of us can do this.
Yes.
It's absolutely as you think it becomes, and that's why you think so strongly about that law should be run in this way, and may it become so.
May it become so.
May it become so.
Thank you.
Namaste.